You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll receive episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes we put on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this through our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Tien, Georgia Mikowski, James Boss, Holiday Kirk, Tyler, Marcy Anime, Chance Holdup, Delaney Mothman, Rana Cruz, Josiah Duncan, Genoa Fleur, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dracula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Jeremy Bull, Matthew Taylor, Breen Hare, Drew Wharton, I Like Books, Jonathan David, Max Kipazinski, Mark Barry, Darian Fisher, Cal 50, Noah's Refused Pimped Out Dave Matthews Event, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Kataga, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Erase Red Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Cindy Nemo, Waffle113, Gavin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon to receive a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways though, enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indieheads podcast. I am your host, Matty at Marvian Prince on Twitter. On this episode, I am joined by Jackie and Max. And Jackie and Max, why have you brought us all together today?
That's a great question. I had this idea a while back on the podcast because we did an episode spearheaded by Gavin and Max of Gav Max Industries. In which we discussed adult entertainment stars. And I'm bummed that Gavin's not going to be on this episode. He couldn't make it. But we had an incredible time discussing very sexually explicit music made by porn stars. And I thought, what an opportunity to bring one of my interests back into the fold, which is dance music, particularly from Chicago and Detroit. And I immediately had the idea of I should show Max some DJ Deeon stuff because Max likes house music and he very much became a fan of the stylings of one Brian Pumper. And immediately,
I do not endorse Brian Pumper.
Let's
start the episode off with that. I do not.
There's going to be a lot of disclaimers up top here, including for anyone I know that's listening to this. Just I am going to take this seriously.
Hang on. Here's how we make this episode Here's again. If I'm going to play something, and if you hear this and you go, "Oh, okay, I'm in," then you're a real head. Keep listening. If you hear this and you're scared, turn this episode off immediately, okay? So let's just play it. Welcome to Porno for Patrons. I am your guest host, Matty, aka the Marty. And so
Marty's out of his water.
You hear this, okay, we are entering Porno for Patrons mode with this episode because I will let Jackie continue from here.
All right.
On why this is a Porno for Patrons episode.
This is about a particular kind of club music of which I am both familiar and fond of, although I don't love every single song we're discussing today. I wanted to sample a variety of levels of quality and also different artists being represented, etc. This playlist is called Club Tracks to Suck and Fuck To because these are all very, very simple, very sexually explicit dance tracks that were popularized in Chicago and Detroit by a number of artists and labels, most notably in Chicago, the Dance Mania label, which a lot of the kind of historical background information stuff I'm pulling is from a couple of different things I read, but there's specifically a very well-written feature in Resonant Advisor online. Jacob Arnold did a feature on the history of Dance Mania, which is a label that started in the late 1980s in Chicago and was a real store that they sold records out of, and it became this hub for a bunch of producers, including ones that we're going to talk about on this episode today. But it's also Chicago and Detroit are the two largest capitals of American dance music, right? Chicago being the home of house music and Detroit being the home of techno music, to broadly generalize it, as we sort of
I'm thinking it's EDC. Sorry, Jackie.
No, yes, of course, Max, you're absolutely right. It's Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, baby.
But basically, we're covering the two different styles of this music that are like most typically called ghetto house and ghettotech, but like, as we'll sort of get into in the context around this stuff, that's like not a term that necessarily these people were using to describe their music, and that's kind of like, so like, I didn't want to call this episode like ghetto tech and ghetto house essentials, partly because like me out loud saying that as a white person just sounds ridiculous for the reasons that genre tag is kind of ridiculous, even though like we'll get into the origins of the genre and the history of it and all of that. And actually, like, as much as this sounds like it's a lot of like preamble to me to be an excuse for then what's just going to be 90 straight minutes of uncomfortable sex lyrics and jokes, but like, this is actually, I think, a fascinating history of dance music, and these guys are so fucking influential.
Yes.
And like, the tendrils of all of these songs throughout like the entire history of dance music is such that in the last 5 years or so, for a variety of reasons that we'll talk about, a lot of these samples and these artists have gotten really popular again, to the point that all of these producers have been able to have these second life careers. And so I do think it is an interesting time to talk about this style of music that is, understandably, as Matty told us in the Discord before, really pushing you out of your comfort zone to the max once again. We don't mean to do this all the time, but I did underestimate how challenging this would be for you.
Yeah, I felt like it was a pretty seamless adaptation for me. I guess I was listening to a lot of Footwork earlier this year, and Jackie, I think, shared this playlist with me like right around the time I got like dumped in August or something like that.
Yes,
and it wasn't like I'm listening to this because it's horny and I need like but I just like Jackie and I have discussed this before. I just don't listen to like angry or like just upbeat music in my life generally.
Yes, and it was really shocking to me when I'm like, because Max and I have had this discussion multiple times where I will send him stuff that we're into as either a podcast or me specifically, and he just like completely like something does not register, where if a riff is happening in a song, Max is just like, what is the point of this like, you do not listen to angry music at all. You don't listen to any music that could be described as heavy, let alone very, very few bands that actually have guitars that are not country or folk oriented in some variety. And like,
yeah,
Big Thief doing like kind of a shoegazy song is basically as bangery as you get.
Yeah, and like, yeah, that song is like my least favorite one on the album.
Listen to, but you listen to a lot of dance music that is not necessarily like. Recently, we were having a discussion about like you haven't really listened to a lot of like hard techno, industrial, electro, like really distorted, like noise is not really something.
I don't like drone, but like hard style is something with a beat for the most part I can get down with. And I wasn't going to be classifying Footwork or Juke music as like aggressive or angry music. It's just very active music, totally. And stuff that fills your head with sound. And so you don't have to think as much.
I mean, these songs are aggressive. Like the second guy we're going to talk about is named DJ Assault, and that's the other thing I have to get into is also the like general misogyny.
Yeah, that can't be ignored.
This, which is there's an incredible, and this is probably going to be the episode picture, I'm guessing. There's a meme that friend of the podcast, Eva, at Soul Seeking Arrangements on Instagram. I don't know, I think she made it, but there's on a while back an Instagram post she did where it's that meme of the woman who's lying on the ground and the soul is like above her, and it's like the feminism leaving my body when I listen to DJ Assault. Mm-hmm. And that's just generally the vibe check. It's like, I know. These songs are not like, if you read, there's a great interview with DJ Assault that I'll plug when we get to him, that like he talks about like it's a persona. He's like, I don't talk to people like this. Like this is art and this is for fun, and all of these songs, that's the other thing about them, is that like they're meant to be played in rapid succession in like short 2-minute bursts as a DJ is flipping from track to track to track to track. And so part of the problem with the playlist format for this episode is that like I had to pick songs that like if I was DJing, I would never play as long as the full length of a track, which is a thing about club music in general, is it's not made for that kind of listening. Like they're made to be tools that you sort of assemble as like puzzle pieces in a set. And so I think that listening to this in like you listen to the whole playlist straight through front to back, listening to all of every song sort of sense, I'm sure was taxing for a listener like Matty, who is not like accustomed to this sort of thing.
Yeah, some footwork producer out there just felt their heart pinch as they heard their music being like listened to in headphones seriously in order to be discussed in long form on a podcast.
Exactly. No,
but that's okay.
It's the opposite of what this is made for. But we also can have a lot to discuss because I've picked a lot of both like Titanic songs of this sort of field and also just like personal favorites of mine, and also a couple of very funny other songs. Anyways, let's just get right into it, Matty.
Yeah,
I'm interested to hear what you have to think about this, Matty, because it never felt like this one was like, oh my god, what's going on? But I understand.
I just my overall thoughts of this is that like I besides like maybe one song, nothing here is bad, but it's just like this is clearly not the context for me to listen to this music for the first time.
100%.
Like I should be in a fucking club, a fucking hot ass club. I mean, like hot is literally hot. The air conditioning is broken. I should be sweating. Should be packed to the fucking brim. Mm-hmm. Like I should be in like 5 business days. I should have a positive COVID-19 test
100%.
Upon leaving the club, like listening to these songs. But
I agree.
This has been a main soundtrack to when I go to the gym because I just don't have other playlists that like have a consistent.
This is a good gym playlist. I gotta say, it's a good gym playlist.
Yeah, I don't have playlists with a consistent beat to them, and I'm too lazy to make them at this point because I just don't listen to new music, and so it's just like it's the 3rd time this week this playlist is coming on. We're having a good pump.
Yeah, and like I said, I listened the first time last night. We usually record our episodes on like Thursdays and Fridays, and this is a Tuesday. So I get done with some stuff. I put up Spotify. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna play some video games and listen to this playlist. And upon pressing play, this is the first fucking thing I hear.
I haven't taken a sip of alcohol since our last recording.
Here is a track from.
I wanna know whose stick is this. You better tell me whose stick is this.
This is a great primer for really what this episode's about.
This is Whose Dick Is This by Princess D.
Princess Di, yes.
Princess Di, my bad.
No, I think so, yes. Max, go ahead.
Y'all ever play Bop It as a kid?
Yes, I have.
Footwork
Max.
is awesome because they just have like a Bop It full of phrases that they use as they see fit. Yeah. And in all these songs, it's just suck it, lick it, fuck it. It's all simple, and you slap a beat over it, and I'm having a good time.
Yeah, that was the other thing, is that like part of the reason why I titled this episode so specifically was that there's so many of these songs that we could be picking for any one episode, so that like I had to narrow it down from all the songs about booty, all the songs about various other topics. And of course, because due to needing to be serious and historically thorough in this episode, throughout the episode, I'm going to just throw out some like honorary mentions of other songs I could have perhaps nominated from these artists. But Princess Di is actually not someone that like has there's literally just like one EP from
not a long history.
And that's it. And like, I don't even think people really know who this person was, but this is just a particular club edit and vocal that had such a history that it ended up in other remixes and other forms. And I first encountered it, I don't remember what year it was, but Main Course, which was a label run by the DJ Astronomar, Main Course had a compilation of like every year at the end of the year they had like a giant Main Course holiday pack that basically had all of their free download songs that were released from the entire year, plus like extras and edits and stuff. And so I downloaded that whole thing, and a song that arrived in there was an edit of Whose Dick Is This? That is incredible and is something... It's Astronomar's edit. So Astronomar did an edit of the Princess Di track that was my first introduction to this vocal and is fucking incredible. And is not on Spotify, so I couldn't pick that version, so I had to pick the original version. But and some of one of these I did pick a sort of modern, updated remix version of one of the earlier tracks. So
it was a good decision too.
A lot of the original tracks in the '90s, like, they are these really stripped down productions with like older recording styles, so the drums don't hit as hard as like more modern versions of the stuff. But I do think that this song it starts out being like, oh my god, seriously, is this going to be this the whole time? But as the groove actually gets working, like, you get to the point where, like, the point is not to like be listening to the lyrics. The lyrics are more like this kind of not to immediately be way too philosophical. It's like a tone poem, you know? It's just like setting the vibe.
It is setting the vibe for this playlist.
And the
that's
question,
you
as
in.
you're dancing to this groove that's going to progress for several minutes, is whose dick is this? And that's an important question that needed to be asked. Some other, the other real highlight from this EP is, of course, Big Dick Motherfucker. But Princess Di, important for this song. I mean, this song has similar, and there's another song on this playlist that I believe literally uses this particular chord progression. But like, obviously, a lot of these tracks are borrowing melodies and interpolating things from like classic disco songs, but also like there's literally a DJ Deeon song that I showed to Max.
Can we play that vocal snippet really quick?
I'll find it.
We should get to that on the first DJ Deeon song.
Actually, yeah, we'll save it. But there are songs that literally use like nursery rhymes as like the basis of like. It's all part of this culture of just borrowing, and there are so many of these tracks that like you hear for the first time not as the original track, but as either a remix directly of the song or just a different song in dance music that borrows those vocals and uses them somewhere else, either sparingly or as like the center of the track. And so if you're a fan of dance music, and if you're like me and are like super obsessive compulsive about like wanting to know the context of all this stuff, you end up getting exposed to all of these different like, oh, you just learn about a particular vocal sample, like a Loretta Holloway vocal sample or something like that just exists kind of in the ether that you've heard because you've heard it 3 different ways through 3 different edits of it. And eventually you go look up what is that, you look up the lyrics, whatever, you find it, you find the original thing. And this is a great example. And so like, as with all of these things, like, it's not necessarily that I love every one of these tracks, but almost all of these tracks, either in the version I'm presenting here or in some other edited version that isn't necessarily on streaming or whatever, like, I can be turned into something that is actually listenable and fun. And I think all of these songs, this song especially, is establishing it's like it's really silly on purpose. Like, that's the thing that was funny when you said like actually being horny. Like, none of these songs, most of these songs do not make me actually horny in any real way, because they're completely fucking ridiculous. Like, they're turning sex into this like insane over the top thing because it allows for this sort of general vibe of hedonism that is
totally
fun.
Yeah, and like in that article you mentioned about kind of Dance Mania and the rise of the ghettotech, in air quotes, movement in Chicago, like you were saying, it's a very interconnected web. And you feel that like the music is kind of tied to its location. Like, you're only going to hear this music in Chicago, and this is like kind of coming towards the end of the era where like music actually can be tied to a physical location. I mean, just like with the way that everyone can kind of record music these days, and I'm hammering home a point that infinite people have said before, but just when everyone can record from their bedroom, there's less of a sense of regionality.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's more interesting from like just like analyzing it from a cultural perspective. Even though I like the music a lot, but it's just interesting to like see this music as like an actual scene that's living and breathing rather than just like, not to be too anti-corporate.
No, it's fascinating, and that's part of the reason why we're talking about all of this stuff, is that like there are a variety of ways I was introduced to this music, but the conundrum around the resurgence of this stuff is there has been more actually like well researched writing and stuff done on this for the first time, and there's also been a real resurgence in the popularity of this stuff, to the point that people that we're going to talk about later on this episode, not Princess Di, but other people, have managed to have careers now because a lot of these songs have gotten so famous in dance music spaces that like now they can put out new tracks that are either collabs with newer producers or just solo productions and DJing and still doing it. And now is actually a perfect time to do the one interlude not on the playlist track, which is I'm going to send it right here in the Discord, but this is Daft Punk's Teachers, which is a song that I think is kind of the perfect vehicle to sort of discuss the way that these songs have been culturally incorporated into like white and Western music cultures. Because this is the song on Homework where they basically shout out all of the black producers whose work directly inspires Homework. R.I.P. Paul Johnson. Many of these names who are coming up on this episode.
I heard Brian Wilson. I was like, wait a second. Brian Wilson made some club tracks?
Well,
it's Johnny Inspirations. I know. It's just a very funny thought in my head.
Funny.
There he is.
Wow, that's crazy.
DJ Slugo. Joey Belcher.
It's like watching a Nicolas Cage. I don't know if Nicolas Cage is like or National Treasures, like those movies where they like zoom in on something. You're like, oh shit, I've missed it this whole time. That's kind of how I feel. And
it was both it's a cool move in that they were putting the spotlight on a lot of these people that like otherwise were not getting the sort of and highlighting that the music that they were doing was different and building on the building blocks of what Detroit techno and Chicago house music like provided to them as far as a template to how that they could make disco music that they liked through synthesizers and drum machines instead of guitars and drums. Like, but I do think it does sort of get into the sort of appropriation concept, which brings us to how this music has got repopularized now. And the main face of sort of the complicated nature of the resurgence in this music is a man by the name of Party Boy 69. Are either of you familiar with Party Boy 69?
I'm not.
Oh yeah, you've talked about him before.
I've never heard of Party Boy 69.
Oh, excellent. Party Boy 69 is an Australian man, which you learn, and then everything else makes sense about him from there on out. Who has a mustache and styles himself in this sort of constantly comedic way that is very YouTuber, and he is incredibly successful on YouTube, uploading DJ sets in which he is standing in front of decks in front of a green screen, recording a mix live. He brings DJs in now all the time to do like back-to-back sets. I'll only pull up a set just to link it in the chat so Matty and Max can look at this. But basically he has a very silly, comedic, over-the-top persona and plays house techno, a lot of ghetto tech. He plays a lot of the artists that like we're talking, either like songs that heavily sample these kinds of artists, or he straight up plays like Waxmaster tracks, and he'll play like a lot of the standards of this genre and a lot of DJ Deeon. And so like even though
Oh, did we lose track of there?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're back.
Sorry. No. I had started. I thought I had started playing on the group watch thing. Anyways, picking back up where I was. Party Boy 69. The thing that is sort of complicated. It's like he does give credit to the people that he's sort of inspired by and taking influence from, but it's also like this guy who now has this huge career as a DJ playing this stuff that like he came to LA recently. I didn't go see him because like he is actually a good selector and like has a lot of relatively good taste, but it's also just like this guy from Australia playing this music and then people being like, oh wow, I love ghettotech and ghetto house, Party Boy 69, yeah. And it's like this music has been completely divorced from its cultural context, even if the people doing it have a pretty good understanding of the context. But like all of these mixes where he's always like either shirtless with a vest or just completely shirtless or like just wearing like a Speedo, and he's this very European, he looks very European but also very Australian, and often will wear like a shoe on a chain around his neck and all this stuff. Like he's just like the humor is like not necessarily the reason to go. He pulls it off by being a good DJ, having good taste in other producers he plays their tracks on the show, and then they come on the show and DJ with him and stuff. Like it is actually a decent place to just get fun dance music to listen to. But like immediately people in the comments are like, OMG, Party Boy 69, the GOAT, whatever. Like it's memeing on purpose in a way that divorces it from the context.
It feels it's turning it into a novelty, and regardless of if he's like a good selector and he's paying respects to the people before him, he's marketing himself as this silly looking guy that puts like green screens of bullshit in the background, and like the guy that plays like horny club music. And it's very much like it feels like he's marketing himself and trying like and probably gaining some of his popularity off just being like a novelty act, and it feels like it's kind of cheapening it. It's somewhat similar, not necessarily in like their whole shtick. Probably I don't know much about them, but we know Speak Americano, right? That song from 2010. Those guys were Australian.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and like that might just like start to build a narrative about that island. We might need to figure out what's going on in there. And we also, listened to that Billboard chart episode like 2 years ago. We need to figure out what's going on down there.
Yeah.
That's correct. But moving on from that, I think we should move on to our next song and talk back about one of the people that was shouted out in that teacher's interlude that we did. Let's talk about DJ Assault, who is from Detroit. And I think I said this right, but like so Detroit is techno and Chicago is house, but there is a lot of cross pollination between those two styles. Like it's not a hard this is one thing, this is the other thing. There's influence going back and forth. We'll get into it, but like this is ghettotech if you would categorize it. Yeah.
How far is Detroit from Chicago as the crow flies? Like
4 hours.
4 hours.
Although this track was released on Maison Kitsune, which is the French label that Planetary Group does PR and radio for, or we did for a while. A French dance music label that was very trendy at the time, and I believe was probably one of the earliest people to start the kind of like whatever co-opting of these Detroit producers that over time got way more famous. Like, I mean, they were very popping in their regional scenes, but it's like they didn't have this kind of level of widespread notoriety until the internet basically allows these tracks to really become, and then also people flipping them. And so this is a late period DJ Assault track. I don't think this song was an old one, but
it's in 2005. Is that late period? It sounds kind of late period because
this is it is. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't know if it was like some of these tracks that when they're on Spotify, like you can't you can't take the year as like, oh, that means that's the year it actually came out. You have to kind of look,
especially with this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Of when these tracks actually were first released. But yeah, this is one of the better like song, like as far as being a fully fleshed out like musical song instead of just like a really raw Spartan club edit. Like, although the only thing I don't like about this song is just that the verses are like, did they just get a little patronizing? Like, I love the hook of it, and the verses are just a little too slut shamey. But
yeah.
But it is funny. I think there's something supposed to be tongue in cheek about it, but I also don't want to give him too much credit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, to go briefly back to DJ Party Boy 69.
Yes.
It seems like sort of like the kind of club EDM, I guess more club version of like an Oliver Tree of like someone that
that's a great comparison. I was thinking,
is very ironic, but definitely not as
not as
fucking awful
like,
as Oliver Tree.
Oliver Tree like makes me depressed. Party Boy 69, I'm neither like strongly pro or strongly con. Like I'm just kind of whatever. Like I there were a couple of mixes of his I enjoyed, but I'm not like checking for him as like this rising star or whatever, you know, like
yeah.
I think it's cool that he's doing what he's doing, and also like I was saying, it's undeniable that his popularity, being able to really take off on a platform like YouTube where his videos are able to reach a really fucking wide audience of people to the point that he can now tour America from Australia and be able to play like he played the same party series that Hudson Mohawk and Goldie played like 2 weeks earlier. Like he's playing to big crowds of people and is bringing the music of a lot of these Chicago and Detroit legends more popular, and you can't give him like credit for it because that's completely like whatever. These guys have been hustling this entire time. Like DJ Deeon never fucking stopped and has health troubles.
No, music is their lives.
Is still refusing to stop grinding, and all of these guys, DJ Assault and DJ Deeon especially, are insanely fucking prolific. I am now, just real quickly before we wrap up this discussion, gonna list a long series. Actually, no, I won't list all of them because I think we have one more DJ Assault track, but I think I'm gonna just list some of DJ Assault's other hits, such as other songs I considered including on this episode were Sex on the Beach, Ass and Titties, that's N.
Both
titties.
are great.
Get in Your Pants from the Porno Music EP. Get Them Draws, also from the Porno Music EP. Bangin' Ya Freak, that's a good one from the Booty House collection, I believe. There's a song just called Gay Guy, not even getting into that one. There's a song called Comin' With Me that's spelled with one N. And yeah.
Human?
DJ Assault is I slightly prefer DJ Deeon if I have to pick one, but why pit two kings against each other? You know, like
this is a celebration.
They very much represent like although I mean, like in general, the sound of Detroit house and techno is so much like I don't want to say at all that these are representative of those. I'm saying just within this specific like style is what I'm specifically referring to when I make these generalizations. But like DJ Assault represents the sort of Detroit style of this particular lane of dance music, and DJ Deeon represents the Chicago style. House and techno, the way I always
it's just like pizza.
People is that house and techno is not. It actually is sort of like that, but it's house and techno is not like house has this. Like, there are certain rules and characteristics that define dance music subgenres, but more than anything, house and techno are, like, sensibilities is the better way to think about it, is that, like, things that tend to get categorized as techno tend to have a harder edge, more distortion, more sci-fi, more, like, stompy, more, like hard, raw sound, whereas house music has more of a groove-oriented sound, has more kind of disco feel a lot of the time, tends to have more kind of bright or even melodic and jazzy chord progressions, like it, but like there's a lot of that's the total generalization. There's a ton of jazz, so much jazz influence in all of Detroit music, but especially Detroit techno. But like the thing that's interesting about it is that there is a lot of sharing of ideas going back and forth. Like it's not like these two things were happening in a petri dish. Like all of these DJs are going back and forth and DJing in the other cities and trading tracks and influence on each other. And so there are lots of tracks where it's like, is this house or is this techno? And you could have like a debate or whatever, but it kind of defeats the point that like all of this is drawing on the same sort of musical building blocks, and there are different styles and sensibilities of it. But like people like Paul Johnson, who's the first name that gets mentioned on Teachers, and Kelly Hand, who's not mentioned on Teachers, but Paul Johnson and Kelly Hand passed away like a year or two ago, like within a week of each other. It was very sad because they're two incredibly legendary figures in the genre that were still doing it, like up until their death. Like Kelly Hand is someone that my friends played with before she died. Like she was still playing gigs in Detroit, around the area, like was just like a pillar of his music. And I loved both of their music so much. And the two of their passings being together was so sad to me, because like they represented the interchange between the two cities, and that Paul Johnson was a Chicago DJ whose tracks banged really hard in a way that had more in common with Detroit techno, and vice versa. Kelly Hand being a Detroit producer who had a lot of house music sensibilities to her that were clearly drawing influence from the Chicago guys. That like this was not two things that were happening separately. Like this was a highway interchange, and that's why so much of dance music in America, particularly Black dance music, which is all dance music, like they invented all of it. Like it did not come from Europe to America as sort of a lot of people perceive. Like Europe was appropriating from, they were some of the first people to get on the wavelength of stuff that was coming out of Chicago and Detroit. And also they were taking influence. I mean, there's the famous Moody Man Red Bull Music Academy thing where he talks about how he thought Kraftwerk was for Black dudes. Because the amazing thing about Detroit, as we segue out of DJ Assault, but like DJ Assault talks about this in his interview, Detroit has a incredibly unique musical culture for a bunch of reasons. But one of the big reasons is that Detroit has an incredible radio culture, particularly like the college radios, but also that in the 80s and 90s, they had these DJs that were all open format stations. And the most famous guy was this guy, the Electrifying Mojo, who was anonymous and was the only person that Prince would do long form interviews with. So Prince would do these long interviews on the Electrifying Mojo, who's like this anonymous guy. And like the way that they all describe it, they're like, it was like they would play B-52s, and then they'd play Kraftwerk, and then they'd play like Detroit techno, and then they'd play like roller rink disco. Like they were just like
we're deep in the bag.
No, like literally they were these people that were really culturally like tapped into all this different stuff, and this entire city was raised on this mindset of like real genre fluidity that was so ahead of its time. Like at that time, like everywhere else in the country. And so like that's the joke of the Moody Man thing, is he's like, Kraftwerk's music was not sold to us as this is this European import. This was just like music. It was part of the tapestry of everything that they were hearing, to the point that Moody Man thought that to quote him, we thought that was some clown shit. Like they thought that they had white makeup on their faces on the album cover. That they had no idea that. So like this is this really incredible like musical melting pot of stuff that was going on that leads to then this music that then embodies the industrial electronic sound that they popularized and invented themselves, but also all these other different influences. And you get a lot of people that do a lot of interesting stuff. And then you also get like completely like simple bare to the bones party music also. Like that's the great thing about house and techno, is it's both, it can be of the mind, and there is a lot of like actual, I believe, like value in not just value. Like things can be deep just because it moves your body, you know?
Yeah.
Like the body is part of how you're perceiving art.
Yeah.
And I think the physical aspect of music is something that people that don't have a relationship with electronic music like don't understand, especially if they haven't experienced it in a live context. But
yeah. I was gonna ask the question, is there a genre of music where it's just characterized by it makes you feel good? Because I was going to say it as a joke, but like as you expand upon that
music.
point,
that's what
it's called music. Yeah, music.
Sometimes when you hear the music, it hits and you feel no pain.
That is very true, and I think we should move on to a man who only experiences pain when he is not producing music.
And
well, this is a song.
Actually, no. There's one other thing he likes to do besides make music. This is a man by the name of DJ Deeon. He is the main character of this episode. And DJ Deeon has some simple requests that I think the best way to introduce DJ Deeon is just to listen to this track, which is a remix of one of his famous tracks called Gimme Head, and this remix is just titled Deeon is King, and it's by Ottonian. And the album artwork is a sort of illustration of DJ Deeon, which
painting him in a very
basically
flattering light.
a flip of one of his classic vocals as a way to pay tribute to him as the progenitor of this style.
God, I mean, I think I'm gonna become an evangelical after this episode. I think. Good Lord, I'm not a prude, not in the slightest, but gee, good Lord,
I mean,
good Lord, this episode.
Absolutely. I mean, DJ Deeon,
like, I like we're talking about the deep, rich history of these genres and these scenes, and it's like these are all extremely true and valid. And then it's like you go on this like 10-minute, like very beautiful, touching tribute to this music, and then I have to hear some of the horniest men I've ever heard in my entire life.
That is the contrast, and how I'm making this hopefully less aggressive than, say, the porno music episode.
Yeah.
However, we're talking about this music for a reason. Like this, I had heard the song before, but when we talked about Brian Pumper, I was like, we have to talk about DJ Deeon on this podcast.
Yeah.
Because, like, he is such a similar... He's like if Brian Pumper was actually good at music, basically.
Yeah, it is light Brian Pumper. He's prolific in the Chicago community, active in the Chicago music.
The other crucial difference is, much like DJ Assault, this is a character that he's playing through his music, and not, say, someone who's actually committing sexual assault in real life, like Brian Pumper, you know? Like,
yes.
Yeah. That's another crucial difference, because DJ Deeon, from all accounts, is a wonderful person, and also someone that has experienced some bad health troubles in the last couple of years. He's still alive. I don't know if he's still, like, for a while he was fundraising money, but I don't know if he's still collecting donations. If he is, I'm going to make sure to, like, link a donation. Like, a year ago, or in June of this year, he was hospitalized in the ICU, but I don't remember exactly what his health problems are, so I'm not going to just, like, speculate, but he is absolutely a stalwart of the music. But, like, Matty, it is fucking ridiculous, and the songs I picked are all intentionally as raunchy and as much this style as possible, because that was the whole thing, is that, like, as they sort of get into, like, house music has origins in queer spaces, but the evolution of this particular style that gets called ghetto house or ghettotech or whatever is basically the fusion of the bare bones of this dance music style that was it was called house because it was popularized, I forget the specific club, but there was a club in Chicago that they were referring to a specific place. Like, that's the same thing with UK Garage. It was like, literally, there was a place called Paradise Garage, and the style of music that was popularized there becomes the name of a genre. It's, like, a very fascinating thing, but, like, what happens is basically that as it starts to get more popular in Chicago, these other people, as a way to sort of make it a broader thing and less of a subcultural thing and popularize it, they fuse, like, these bare bones dance music styles with another style of music, which is, like, Miami bass music. Like, basically, like, Face Down, Ass Up, That's the Way We Like to Fuck is one of the most foundational tracks for this entire genre. And it's basically combining Two Live Crew, call and response style, completely as filthy as humanly possible vocals with these propulsive club beats. And, like, that just alchemy of those two things is, like, so fucking influential. Like, my friend in college, Bailey Poston, who I'll give a shout out to now, as we were all getting more and more immersed in house and techno and throwing these parties and whatever, my friend Bailey had this playlist that was literally just her collecting all the, like, the most uncomfortably horny dance songs. Like, just all of these songs that are, like have people moaning on them that are just, like, so, like...
Why are you moaning so loud?
And completely divorced from any context where you could find that. They're just, like, completely ridiculous. But when you hear some of these tracks come on in a club setting, if they're well woven into a DJ set and they're deployed in the right way or used with the right edit, like, they can be... And that's the thing, is that, like, this track, I have this track in my Serato. I like this song a lot. But I'm gonna play other tracks over this because these songs are kind of bare bones on purpose for the functional purpose of then you being able to layer multiple tracks on top of each other and lower the bass on one and have them be able to sit on top of each other without the mix being like overly cluttered. Like the fact that these songs have so much negative space in them makes them weird to listen to in just a kind of Spotify context, but like as sort of building blocks that you're thinking of in a DJ set, like I love taking vocals like this, looping them, and then playing other progressions of songs that like build on top of them to sort of transition between songs. And like I'll play this song with like another song over it for like more than a minute at a time because of the way that it has this sort of bare bones structure to it. So it is weird to listen to like an hour of this straight. Like I understand your pain, Matty.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really pain. It's just sort of like...
It's disorienting.
It's disorienting.
Yeah.
On purpose, too.
I guess, like I said, most of my experience with this playlist and this music is like either driving or like while at the gym. And so it's stuff where I'm like, for the most part, like active and can use like you
should not be listening to this playlist while not doing something else. You should not be contemplating this music as much as there is a lot of like, that's the thing is that like, dance music is, I think, worthy of like a lot more focus and criticism and writing and all of this stuff because I think it's important to like discuss these things. But the way you should experience it is not in like a ponderous sort of way. I mean, there is dance music or like electronic music that is like that, but dance music specifically is about like the experience of doing it. It's not just about what are you hearing, it's about the way that it makes your body feel and the way that you move to it. So it's all very functional for that purpose, and so thinking about it is very different. And I think that a lot of the time dance music, as a fellow music journalist, Ariel put it on Twitter today, a lot of these publications spend a lot of time yelling about how great the Beyonce album is because it's this beautiful tribute to dance music, and then their album of the year list have
it's dance music.
Okay. Not a whole lot of fucking dance music on them is the thing.
I don't. Oh man,
we can't get into this. We can't get into the.
I just like no. I don't think we're gonna. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But it's just like it seems like that kind of impact is just. Maybe I'm generalizing this about the like music criticism industry, but it feels like it skews older. It feels like dance music is for the most part like a younger person's game, or at least like slightly younger than the demographic of like the Pitchfork AOD committee. And so they're just not going to go out and experience those as often in the settings as they're meant to be seen and taken in and experienced. And like you said, it isn't necessarily music that all the time is like best experienced with your headphones on sitting down. It's something that you need to actually go out into the world. I'm not saying music writers don't go outside. If you're listening to this, you guys get outside plenty.
About to say, I mean, they get outside plenty. It's the people on the message boards. Those are the ones that don't get outside. The message board.
I would agree with that.
But
anyways, we should move on because I'm surprised how long we've taken on. But I mean, a lot of that was kind of.
I feel like we got a lot of the history out of the way.
The setup
so kind of just get into the tracks.
Exactly, and now we're getting on to our first track from Mr. DJ Slugo, and this was one that there will be at least an element of that will be recognizable, I think, to pretty much all of our listeners. I would imagine.
Oh yeah. I was going to ask you about that. So yes. This is DJ Slugo. Wouldn't you like to be a hoe too?
It's a great question.
This is probably one of my favorite songs on the playlist.
The vocals of this definitely are very reminiscent of like Memphis rap. Is that a bad call?
No, I think that's fair.
Like I think of like Tommy Wright the Third a little bit, and like some 3 6 Mafia.
Totally. I mean, yeah, like 3 6 Mafia, and then like the kind of Florida, Miami-based music is all very influential on like the kind of rap style. But this is a Chicago DJ as well, a DJ Slugo.
Yeah. I mean, like strictly in the vocals, like
100%.
Yep. There we go.
What is this? What is this referencing?
This is sampled in "Wet Ass Pussy" by Cardi B.
Oh, really?
Yes, the hose in this house, like the hose in the house refrain on the song. I believe this is the original. I'm pretty sure it's DJ Slugo's song is the first, because this song came out in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
this is one of his signature songs, and a song that Horseman's House is the original one, Franksky. But so like exactly, like I actually do think this is not the first one, because as with a lot of these songs, they're taking different elements of it and just being like, oh, here's that famous like melody or refrain or whatever, and making something famous dirtier is a common track of some of these. Like, it's very
we need to get back to that DJ Deeon nursery rhyme.
Weird Al stuff. The DJ Deeon nursery rhyme will be a perfect transition out of our next song.
Yeah,
but this is a good song. We don't have to say a whole lot about it, but DJ Slugo is a great other name in this, kind of one of the other crucial figures of this. Another Dance Mania guy. I generally recommend for like all this music the mix versions of these, and particularly for all the Dance Mania guys. There's one mix that's on Spotify that's called like Dance Mania Classics, Dance Mania Juke Classics. There's also Hardcore Tracks, which is a compilation of a bunch of Dance Mania hits, but Best of Dance Mania Juke is a compilation that's mixed by Gantman and Traxman, that has a bunch of the artists featured from this mixed all together in a rapid style over in an hour and 9 minutes. They play 43 songs, so like that gives you an idea of how fast these songs they get like cycled through. But like that's the better way to sort of actually experience this music the way that these people would be flipping them together in a set. And there's another famous mix that I'm going to recommend later when we get to that person. But let's move on to our next artist. Another DJ Deeon track. Yeah, this is the worst song of the episode, the longest song of the episode, and a track that I would only include it on this playlist if I felt like I absolutely had to for comedic value. And folks, I had to do it.
Jack or Matty, do you want to play the Spotify link I put in there real quick?
Yeah. I'll play that really quick.
Oh wow, this song is another. Speaking of sampling, taking very, very like just bottom of the kind of barrel like pop, like taking from what was it called, like when stuff falls out of copyright, like
public domain
type sampling going on here.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
I'm positive he said those lyrics somewhere. He might say those lyrics somewhere else in this playlist.
That's the thing, is that like so many of these songs and these producers will have like various, there are multiple DJ Deeon songs with similar now is probably a good time for me to bust into that. There's a lot of songs that obviously we're not gonna have time to get to, and so now I'm gonna do the first half of this now, and the second half when we get back to them one more time. But I'm gonna real quickly, as we jam out to this, list some other DJ Deeon track titles, such as Throw Dat Ho, Shake What Your Mama Gave Ya, To The Hose, which of course is I Pledge Allegiance to the Hose, I Pledge Allegiance to the Hose.
He was ahead of his time.
To Whores, which is spelled Horz. I like saying that like Frank from Always Sunny.
Tangentially, that is something I kind of wanted to touch on. I feel like this playlist is right at the time where like Z's and X's at the end of words. It's just at a peak.
The styling of all of these tracks is, and I mean, it feels very whatever. So,
I don't think it's gonna happen now. I feel like in 5 years or so, it's gonna come back.
But yeah, DJ Deeon has a song called Put It In Yo Mouth and also Yo Mouth. Those are two different ones. Like one of them has the nursery rhyme flip and one of them doesn't. But like,
yeah, we only need to listen to like 30 seconds of this.
That's enough.
We were talking over it, but yeah. Let's listen to Dik Suk by DJ Deeon.
In a similar vein.
I wanna suck your dick. Come on.
I'm not sure.
He's playing two characters, like Kendrick. You see, like there's that.
That's what I was thinking. It took me a while to get there, but it's like he's playing a woman. I think
before we start this episode, I was talking to Max and Jackie, and telling them that I think I'm going to try to put together. I think now the fact that we're this is our last like proper mainline episode for the year. The rest of our episodes for the rest of 2022 are going to be our end of year coverage. So I think I need to put together a list of the worst songs that I've heard this year because of the podcast. This is going to be on that list.
It's just too long.
The fucking voice. It's the fucking voice.
The voice is so funny.
It's
the
so funny.
The voice
Jesus
still kills
Christ.
me every time.
I'm so sad Gavin can't be here to offer commentary on this song specifically. Also, the song being called Dik Suk and it being spelled DADIKSUK is just very crucial.
Yeah, touching on word misspelling.
This is pushing this genre to as close to like unlistenably annoying as I can possibly tolerate. Like this is obviously.
Yeah, I don't think I like this song.
No, it's not good
in terms of being a song, but like, I love the idea so much.
As a concept, as something to rotate in my mind like a cube.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on from this. We don't have to listen to all 7 minutes.
Oh my god. Yeah, this was pain.
If you can believe this listener, he comes back in a deeper voice and he says, "Getting some head is what I like to do." Like
licking your butt, or yeah. No, I think he says, "Put your tongue in my ass." I didn't have to say that, but I did. I'm sorry.
I believe he does. But hey,
DJ Deeon said it, not me.
As DJ Salt said, they're playing a persona. They're heightening it up. And the line he has in the interviews, he's like, "It would be crazy for me to try to act like I am in my songs." He's like, "You should be you, but like for art that you're creating, you can play aside a character of yourself, ramp it up super heightened." Like the Dik Suk is camp is what I'm getting at, folks. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah,
but
it's one thing if you're like marketing your music as like, I don't know, access into your personal life and your head and your thoughts, but this is music like you've iterated on many times. It's like it's music meant to be played in a public setting for other people and to vibe out to and have a good time. And if like creating a character that makes these kinds of songs is like the end result of that, then I think you're doing a good job of what you're intending to do.
Which is like playing these songs in a club setting. Like you are not necessarily saying like, I endorse the attitudes about sex held by this thing. And it's like more just like, no, it's like the boundaries that are broken by having this very incredibly over the toply raunchy thing playing in a setting is just that it like loosens inhibitions generally and allows people to ask the question, would I like to be a hoe too? And you know, in that regard, let's bring things to a much better song and move on to our next song of the evening, which is of course Fuckin by Ms. 313 of Detroit. From the EP Revenge of the Bitches, which is spelled with a Y, which I love.
And a Z. And a Z.
And a Z.
What year is this from?
2008. This is like, okay, this is after. So like, this is someone who talks about like listening to DJ Assault and DJ Godfather specifically, which are the two main figures of this style of music in the Detroit area. And then this song also uses the organ line of what's it called? She's Homeless. What's the fucking Crystal Waters is the artist. Yes, of course. It's the Crystal Waters song, which is like a classic Gypsy Woman She's Homeless is like a classic Chicago house thing. And so it takes that very recognizable chord progression and then just layers a bunch of lyrics about wanting to fuck over it. And it's great. It's very fun. Part of the reason why I included this song, to even out the gender imbalance a little bit, obviously,
totally.
But also because my personal relationship with this song is that a while back, Boys Noise, the German techno DJ, called out on Twitter asking for people to submit sex songs. Or like sex remixes, or like just whatever. Like I forget how he described it. Like sex tracks or whatever, and I sent this one, and he was like, oh, I never heard this edit or whatever, and I was like, yes, hell yeah. I sent Boys Noise a song about fucking that he had not heard before.
Yeah, isn't Boys Noise like kind of carrying the torch?
I mean, a Boys Noise is, not to bring back a tangent of discussion I deliberately tried to avoid last week.
Right, Boys Noise did not get canceled.
No, he's not. Oh, I certainly hope not. Not that I know of.
No.
He is. I'm just saying he's like a Bloghouse era, more like he is a figure that has sort of transcended eras at this point because he's one of the guys that came out of the sort of Justice era of European dance music and like found a variety of careers for himself, including working with like Lady Gaga and stuff now. Like Boys Noise is a established figure and probably one of my favorite German producers out there and has been for a very long time.
Was Justice really big like that? Sorry.
Oh, Justice is and is fucking huge. No, yeah, like
gotcha.
that first album was like a genuine crossover hit, not on a Daft Punk level, but were like the younger brother of Daft Punk essentially. Like those songs like are part of the reason why people have this idea that there was this indie sleaze dance movement is because like songs like DANCE and We Are Your Friends are like enormous, like were played on the radio and stuff.
I know I've heard that dance song before, but I need to like listen to it again because it like doesn't mean anything to me.
It would react. I'm sure some of those songs would reactivate. You'd be like, oh yeah,
I don't like this song. I remember, it was in the Endless Scroll Music League. I was like, oh, I've never heard this song, and then I heard that, and I was like,
Anyways, we should move on to our next song, which is the final DJ Deeon song of the evening. And I had to quickly redeem him after Dik Suk.
There is another one. There's another one at the end, actually.
We're doing 4. I forgot I added one more. Yes, right.
We might not even touch on that.
So this is number 3. This is probably my favorite of the standalone DJ. As far as a DJ Deeon track that does not require a remix or edit to really like spruce it up, like an original DJ Deeon production start to finish. Although a lot of his newer stuff is very good, but like Pushin Dik has got to be the one because this was on my top 100 most listened to songs on Spotify this year. I hate to admit it, or I don't.
I think the song is good as a standalone song, beyond being like a horny novelty club track. I think the ad-libs work really well together. There's so much energy in this song.
You and I have been quoting this song for days. It gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
It is so... He's in the pocket. And also, crucially, he's not just looping one phrase over and over again. Like, he's really in a pocket and pushing Dik.
No, he's got a couple good verses in here where it's like, oh man.
And the fact that he waits a full 45 seconds to finally drop the kick drum is the reason why this song is so satisfying to listen to as a standalone, because
Jesus Christ.
The little woo there is so good.
Woo. I didn't get to say my piece during the last song.
Go ahead, yeah.
Fucking is my favorite song on the playlist, probably.
Oh yeah. I mean that Gypsy Woman chord progression is just so great. Like I never get tired of it. That's that song. If you're looking for a random thing to take from this episode, and also just generally like Crystal Waters and Basement Boy stuff, like just such a great Chicago house staple.
We can appreciate this song.
Yeah, I appreciate that he did not try to do the voice himself on this song. That's what I appreciated.
I kind of wish he did.
Don't do the voice. Don't do the voice.
DJ Deeon. Oh no, he's Deeon.
This song is crucially 2 minutes and 10 seconds, which is the other reason why it's listenable in this context.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the songs we consider the best on the playlist is one that gets in and out with its ideas.
No pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in and out. Yeah. we haven't really gotten on the sex joke wagon really at all.
That's the thing is that it's like I'm having I'm sipping a spindrift and having an intellectual conversation about dance music with my friends as we stroke our chins.
This is the real intelligent dance music here, folks.
I'm sipping on a tea.
Honestly, no, it's the fucking YouTube comment, or it's on from UK Ravers. It's all dance music is intelligent music because it's intelligent to want to dance and have a fun time with your friends.
Facts.
And that's the ethos of this. Is like a lot of times people like, I think with it happens with all kinds of different versions of music, but like with Lil B was always the great example. Is that like I always got so mad when critics would like dump on Lil B. It's like these rhymes are so sophomoric. It's like, have you ever considered that he's not trying to impress you with a rhyme scheme, and that he's doing something different, which is trying to be funny and charismatic, and like it's just such a like prescriptivist approach to things. So I do like shaking it up with something that is just completely ridiculous every once in a while, like this next song from Ann Arbor legend Disco D.
Yeah, this is the He's White of the year for me. Looking up the Wikipedia page for Disco D was crazy. Rest in peace.
There I believe there's one other. Let me double check before I yes, Disco D and DJ Godfather are the two He's White of the Michigan dance music scene. This is a featuring a Princess Superstar, by the way.
She wants me to do what on the dance floor?
Yeah, exactly. Prude little Matty in the corner
this song
of the middle school dance.
Has a lot of similarity with a more popular song, "Fuck the Pain Away" by Peaches. Like, there's a lot of crossover from like how this ends up going into things like crunkcore and whatever. Like,
I have seen people talk about Disco D on the internet before. I've never listened to Disco D before.
He is a figure that is very crucial for me getting into like the actual nuts and bolts of what makes up the scene, because the way that if I want to listen to this for my own personal enjoyment outside of the context of DJ tracks, like as part of a mix, like the best way to do it is, I think, to listen to Disco D's album "A Night at the Booty Bar," which is a 2003
specifically
a 2003 mixtape that features DJ Deeon all over it. DJ Deeon does the intro of the album with his track "Dem Tatas."
I know what that means. He's not fooling me.
But just like a really, really excellent juggling of all of these staples of the genre with some of his own remixes and tracks, and all of these, and like really, really great transitions. Like for almost all of these tracks that he plays, like "I'm a hoe, she's a hoe," like he plays it for a minute and 40 seconds and then throws another track in immediately, and then throws another track in immediately. So like you're not allowed to kind of ruminate too long on any of them. And it keeps the momentum moving in a way that you really have to with this style of dance music. Disco D is no longer with us. I believe he committed suicide, which is very sad.
Yes.
He died in 2007, R.I.P. Was pretty young too, but he's an Ann Arbor boy. Grew up in Ann Arbor. Was not like a Michigan student or whatever. But he grew up in Ann Arbor and then started producing for rappers eventually. Actually, he went to school at the University of Michigan. He went to the business school, which is funny. But he became like a local regional DJ in his teens and 20s, because he started DJing in 1995 as all of his music was already in full swing regionally, and so he got obsessed with DJ Godfather, and he was very crucial in sort of being one of the first figures to take this music and repopularize it beyond just the original scene and community. And seems like he had a weird, I mean, obviously he had bipolar disorder, and his life ending in suicide, obviously it's easy to project, but like he did seem to have kind of a weird personal life. But he famously started working with 50 Cent and actually produced some songs for like 50 Cent and Chamillionaire and Trick Daddy, and ended up having like a real career as a rap producer in addition to his DJ career and his productions as Disco D. But yeah, like A Night at the Booty Bar is the platonic ideal. Like it has all these interjections and ad libs from like the Disco D, the woman who does all the kind of ad libs. Also smart to have him not probably knowing it's like my voice is not cool enough for me to be like being the voice of my own album. Like he really does highlight all of the artists whose music he's directly inspired by in a real front. Like DJ Deeon has like 5 tracks in that mix or whatever. Like it's very heavy on all of the stable, which some of these producers include producers that I have not even mentioned on this episode. I mean, like I could go on a full I Think You Should Leave style You Don't Know Roy Donk, like Jam and Gerald. We're not even talking about DJ Nasty or DJ Milton or Waxmaster or DJ Funk. Like we're not talking about DJ Funk's hits such as Fuck That Ass and Computer Sex and Dick Work, which is DIK. DJ Nasty had a lot of songs I obviously could have chosen for this episode, such as Cum Shot and Jungle Ballin', Hydraulic Style, Drop That Ass to the Ground, Hydraulic Style, etc.
Cum Shot is a verb that like sex songs don't really hit on enough.
They don't.
Hey Jackie, where be your nutcracker?
Where be my nutcracker? That's a good question.
Is that another song?
That's I think you should leave reference, but also a reference to nutting and coming because this is a very nasty, dirty, horny playlist.
Also,
songs.
DJ Nasty has a song called I See Booty, which is spelled like I and then C and then booty with 2 E's instead of a Y.
When's the last time you got I cupped Matty?
Yeah.
I guess right now. But yeah, let's move on to our next song, which has a sort of similar thematic undertone to Fuck Me on the Dance Floor. This is another Lil Mz 313 collab with DJ Rashad, the legend, rest in peace. The greatest of all time footwork artist for sure, and one of the most influential and prolific and just one of the best electronic musicians of the 21st century. DJ Rashad's a legend. Yeah, and he dabbled in his own iterations on like juke, and so juke is sort of a offshoot. Footwork and juke are sort of sometimes synonymous, but footwork sort of comes up as a term. Juke was originally popularized because of its use by people like DJ Gantman, who had tracks like Juke That Girl, but like also it's a term that like has like West African origins of some kind to sort of mean like a disorderly or like rowdy dance. And juke tracks are basically like 4 on the floor tracks that are sped up really fast, as opposed to being footwork tracks, which tend to have more of the kind of stuttering rhythms that you associate with DJ Rashad. Like this is more locked in groove wise than a lot of DJ Rashad tracks tend to be, but it still has a lot of the touches of what his music is known for. And it's a great track.
If you're looking for horny Rashad, I would highly recommend, I believe one of the tracks is later on the playlist, but the Freaking Me on the Flow EP has some great horny Rashad. I feel like maybe I'm incorrect on this. It feels like his earlier stuff is generally a little more melodic than his later stuff, especially like the late aughts work before he moves into, I mean, the Juke Tracks EP. I don't remember enough, man. Dude.
No, totally. I you don't have to apologize. There's a lot. This is a lot of fucking. That's the thing is like I have spent a lot of time researching this stuff before this episode, and I've done more for it. Like these guys are really prolific. There's a lot to wrap your head around, and I've only done so much because like at a certain point in my education of dance music, like, as I'm sort of trying to highlight here, like it's inevitable that as a person in America, you're probably exposed to dance music through David Guetta at the middle school dance before you're given like a proper like, house music and techno music come from Chicago and Detroit, from Black communities, and like understanding the origins of it and all of that. And I was lucky to like have come up in a space, particularly in Ann Arbor, where a big emphasis of what our club wanted to do in like throwing those parties is making sure that like we were highlighting black DJs, and that we were like a culturally diverse club, and also that we were constantly recognizing the history of the genre that we were all participating in. And we would do a Black History Month party every year, which we had one Black History Month party that was DJ'd by Black Noise, who came and did it for gas money because we were raising money for charity. And it was sick. Shout out to Black Noise. Shout out to DJ Holographic, who played another one of those parties. But like, basically like wanting to immerse myself in actually knowing about these guys, as opposed to just like receiving the downstream cultural byproducts of the work that they did.
Yeah, totally. And I guess I've felt that in my own line of work.
Hell yeah.
It would be, I mean, I was just like part of like learning about it is just like, you can't, I mean, I guess I can say I generally work in environmental research, and like, you can't learn about the environment without humans' relationship to the environment and the origins of environmentalism, and how it was very racist in nature. Yeah, I mean, it was really racist in nature for the most part, but a lot of it is just early environmentalism was about like preserving aesthetic beauty for like mostly so that humans could like appreciate it more. And like conservation a lot of times is still like human centric. People really don't give it like as much of a shit as you think they do. And also just like how environmentalism has also like just historically ignored like disadvantaged communities, especially the like Black communities in the South. The environmental justice movement started in the South. Obviously, I mean, we don't need to get too deep into that.
But like you're absolutely right, and that is cool to bring up as a sort of comparison point, because
if you don't learn about like the histories of what you're interested in, you probably should.
Exactly. And it's less widely known that like, obviously at this point, like everyone knows that like, oh, actually rock music comes from Black people. And we've all had the conversation about the weirdness of that Back to the Future, like kind of implies that white people invented rock music, like all that shit. But like, I think at this point, but like, I think dance music is something where I'm still surprised to see people that like think that like, oh, like whatever, like Orbital invented tech, like these people or like all the kind of racist stuff that's like part of the reason why intelligent dance music is a terrible genre title, despite the fact that like you should just be shoved in a locker for saying that. It's also because like that was a label being tabbed onto white producers who were producing a style of music that was directly drawing building blocks from Black artists, and it's being like, oh, now that these white people have decided to spruce it up with some more adventurous ideas, now it's intelligent dance music. Like the origins of the genre are racist, and very much that's why like anyone who knows anything about dance music will like laugh at you for describing things.
Get a little offbeat and add some negative space, and all of a sudden your dance music is like intelligent.
I mean, and a lot of that stuff is stuff that I do. It's like I like Autechre and Aphex Twin and all that stuff is good.
Me too.
But like exactly, but like it's done no service by being framed in that way. And as we move on from this track, just want to say shout out to DJ Rashad, rest in peace, the legend. If you like electronic music, if you're listening to this episode and somehow, and I don't want to shame you, if somehow you have not listened to Double Cup by DJ Rashad, like run, don't walk, go listen to Double Cup. It's one of the best electronic albums of the 21st century. Masterpiece, classic, Hall of Fame, and features a couple, actually, no, I don't know.
It's Spin and Tasso that are the main guys.
Exactly, Spin and Tasso, and also DJ Earl on the last track, and a couple other people. Addison Groove is a guy.
I believe DJ Manny is another guy who's pretty big in the Chicago footwork scene in like the 2010s.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Manny. But anyways.
Double Cup is the album I've personally probably become the most, I guess, pilled on, as you'd say, this year. Probably one of the few albums where I've, or like artists even, where I've gone from like a passive, like, oh yeah, they're very good, to like, obsessed. This guy is very much the truth, and I'm a fool for not observing it earlier. And obviously, a rest in peace, Rashad. It's something I can only rectify now.
Totally. And also, real quickly, while we're talking about footwork, we should also shout out RP Boo, who's not on this playlist because his music tends to not be quite as horny to qualify. But RP Boo is generally credited as the producer who didn't popularize the term footwork, because the footwork was first brought up on a Wax Master track called Footwork, But RP Boo is considered to be the godfather of the style that is now known as footwork. Like that's 100% him, and he is still chugging along, releasing incredible records. Like his record from last year, Established, was one of my favorite dance music records of that year by a wide margin. He has an album from 2018 called I'll Tell You What that's incredible. Shout out to RP Boo, one of the best. Another great hole to dive down from this episode, trying to make this episode more culturally enriching than just club songs Suck and Fuck You. Check out RP Boo's music. He's great.
You know this better than I do, because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of like footwork music like present in like like general music popular.
It hasn't,
besides RP Boo right now.
There hasn't been a trend yet for footwork to be like appropriated. Like it's really, honestly, Max, it's exactly what you identified once when you talked about seeing DJ Nate at Pitchfork Festival, where you just like observed from a distance, and you were like, I am going to embarrass myself if I try to dance to this music. I'm just going to sit this play out, coach. And that, I think it's like, honestly, like footwork is harder to appropriate because it's less formulaic. Like it requires a dexterity of rhythm that is less common, and also it's less commercially accessible and replicatable as a lot of these. Like it's a much headier dance style because it's so elaborate in how fast the beats are and how much they're using the pace of it to make these really naughty rhythms and samples that are chopped and chopped and chopped. Like I think that it's just a hard style to like replicate in the same way that just like putting 4 kicks and putting a clap on the offbeat is like super easy to do. And I think at some point, in the same way we've seen all of the last couple of years, where like there are these kind of fad resurgences of particular styles of dance, particularly like jungle and breakbeat stuff has seen a huge, honestly, to the point that I actually don't think it's a fad anymore. I think like jungle is here to stay as like a huge thing, especially with Nia Archives and Pink Panther is continuing to get bigger. But like, I think that in general, there's like a lot of, there's definitely room for that stuff but like the thing is that the people who were doing it originally are still by far the people most creatively and the only people doing it. I mean, like, RP Boo's music is so singular that like even compared to Rashad, like they're kind of different in a lot of ways.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
RP Boo is just kind of like, no one makes music like him, and you can listen to his records and they're really defiantly original in the way that like truly great dance music should be. So shout out to them, true legends. Rashad, legend forever, rest in peace.
Yeah, let's get into another heady track called "Love the Pussy" by DJ Assault.
I love these transitions. They're so good.
Jesus Christ.
This is also chosen.
Jesus, oh my god, this episode's fucking whiplash.
This was
Jesus
chosen
Christ.
for comedic effect, particularly.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't really even touch the fact that the DJ Rashad song was called "Fuck Me in My Face."
It's kind of why I wanted Gavin here, because it was like I knew I was gonna get PhD student about this, and I think Gavin would have been able to bring.
Yeah,
more,
I'm too willing to sit my ass down and listen.
Mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think Gavin and I have ever been on an episode where like one of us really actually like likes the music we're talking about that much. And I feel like this one, I wouldn't have been hurt or anything like that, but it would have been I don't think Gavin would have liked these songs that much.
I think he would have liked some of them. I think Gavin's ability to appreciate something. God. Yeah, like we need to get DJ Assault or DJ Deeon on a track with RXK and FU is what I think, but that's a different.
We need to get DJ Deeon on a cameo.
If he had cameo, I would have probably already paid for one. But I thought we have one more DJ Rashad track. I kind of blew my wad there. Shit.
Yeah.
Oops.
Anyways, this song we don't have to talk about a lot. We've kind of done a lot of the important DJ Assault discussion. I just wanted to have another track from on there, and the way that this song starts is so funny to me. Like many other tracks in this playlist, like it starts out being like unbearably, uncomfortably aggressive, and then it settles into something more like, all right, I can have this on and not feel weird about it, you know? Like, I think the best tracks of the genre know when to push the gas and brake, etc.
Yeah. They're feathering the controls. They're maximizing their
like I could
miles per
include
gallon.
Sex on the Beach, which is a better track, but I thought that wasn't quite as even though it's called Sex on the Beach, it's a much more subtle song than Love the Pussy.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like Marvin Gaye quality to
probably
it.
The DJ Assault track I actually listen to most is a song called Livin' the Good Life, which has nothing to do with sex at all and is just a song that's good vibes. And I like that song a lot too, if you're looking for something
that is
less
the thing
horny.
about this playlist.
Oh God! Okay, I was gonna say something. I'll say it for the end of the episode.
Okay, sure.
It'll be a little more poignant for the end of the episode.
A little more poignant, beautiful. I'm all
right.
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for.
Let's knock us out with two more tracks. We don't have to do long discussions on these, but these are two more tracks from some of our favorite guys this episode that I did feel like, fuck, I'm really gonna be bummed if I leave these off. This first one is a DJ Rashad track, one of the best tracks of the week. This is Ride This Dick.
Let me show you how I do. Take you upstairs to my room. Kiss your neck, your back, your thighs. Girl, you got me mesmerized.
What a killer hook.
From the back, give that big booty a smack. You got me.
This one's featuring DJ Shy Boogie, by the way.
Let me show you how I do. Take you upstairs to
but it's once the
Chip
Mario the Mario Dungeon synth line comes in.
Yeah.
Come on, bitch. Ride this dick. Ride this dick. Ride this dick. Ride this dick.
Yeah. The chip tune works when it really feels like it should not work.
I've been meaning to build this playlist out, but when we were doing the Death Grips episode, I talked about the concept of Bowser's Castle music. This is Bowser's Castle music.
Yeah. I mean, it seems a little suggestive for Bowser's Castle music.
No, I know, but just purely the synth sound, like, yeah.
No, I totally get what you mean. I mean, that is because it basically is like a video game synth. I don't know. There's
we
probably
should
a more technical term for that.
A YouTube account where we do video game parodies of DJ Assault songs.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's a market that hasn't been.
Ride this Minecraft shaft. Something along
Are there
those
Minecraft
lines.
parodies of like Phoebe Bridgers songs?
That's a good question. I love how mid-episode your brain will just think a question like that, just like go all the way. Oh, that's a good question. Anyway, this is one of the better tracks of the week, but we don't have much to discuss here, so let's just end this out with one more DJ Deeon hit. This is Let Me Bang. Pretty self-explanatory.
Wait, that's any ladies listening to this podcast? That is a question that I'm asking. I'm asking you. All right, I'm done. This
is an open call.
I can't.
Maddie,
this is an open call.
Maddie's turned this episode into a casting call.
If you're a lady in Los Angeles right now, open up that Bumble app. Find Maddie.
Come to drawing room on Sunday.
Honestly,
Sunday night.
The real dating app.
If you're a lady in Los Angeles looking to make a career in music, there are not any Minecraft parodies of Motion Sickness by Phoebe Bridgers. So if you're looking to get a jump start on your career, I would suggest get into work.
Oh my god.
This is also a great song.
This is just like a kind of prototypical DJ Deeon song that was horny enough to be worthy of inclusion.
Okay, now that we're at the end, I just want to say, so far this discussion, I would say this is probably one of our most in-depth episodes in a long time. We're really into sort of the history of Detroit and Chicago dance music. And it's on an episode entitled "Club Songs to Suck and Fuck To."
Exactly,
I think that's really beautiful.
There.
Exactly. That is, but that's what I love about dance.
You thought I was gonna be evil.
It was very important for me in my arc of getting really into dance music. Of like, at first I had this kind of phase where as I got more cultured as a dance music listener, but then also as I got really like into thinking about music criticism. Oh, I can't talk seriously while DJ Deeon is talking about hitting it from the back. It's hard to focus. I'm grooving right now. This is a great example of just like the cornerstones of the kinds of these beats that are great, that are just have these really good bass lines and just like high tempo. Anyways, but as I was saying, like I had a period of time where like because of the way people talk about music, whatever, like very kind of right.
Oh my god.
Right.
He sounds like the seagulls from Finding Nemo or whatever.
I'm gonna stop beating around the bush at this point. I at a certain point started to be like think down upon dance music, having come up through EDM, being like, oh, this is not good music. I like real good music now.
Like
I'm getting
snails.
indie music, whatever. That's real good music. And then at a certain point, I circle back around, especially as I'm starting to learn so much more about the history of dance music. Like, and now I have such an admiration for music, like as we've talked about, that isn't trying to be pointy-headed, that is trying to be as silly and empty-headed, thinking with your dick brained as possible. And that's what's beautiful about this music, and why I decided to share it with our listeners and with my fellow co-host Matty, as well as Max, who is just fully my Padawan at this point in terms of dance music.
We've really gone student teacher this year. I'm excited to see where
seeing the way that you took to DJ Deeon, especially. I was just like, well, if you liked Brian Pumper as much as you did, there was no way you were not going to enjoy DJ Deeon. Like it's a very easy transition to make.
It's a very easy guy to sell, especially when I'm already pretty sympathetic to the type of music that DJ Deeon creates.
Exactly. It's a synthesis of two things that you liked, which was porno music and dance music.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You couldn't sneak Ron Jeremy into this one, unfortunately.
I'm not sure why.
It just autoplayed a DJ Godfather track. That's funny.
Yeah.
Whoa, that album art is crazy. I can't see it very well, but
Everyone please look up Da Bomb Volume 4 by DJ Godfather for one of the funniest album arts that I've ever seen. Holy shit.
A lot of the stuff has incredible graphic design stuff going on. Highly recommend checking all that out. DJ Godfather, of course, being the other He's White of Michigan dance music of this era.
Oh God! All right. Well, let's wrap it up. I think I learned a lot this episode.
I told you I had context. You know,
I know, and I trusted you on that front. I never doubted you. But as I mentioned earlier, this is our last mainline episode of the year. Obviously, well, not our last mainline. We're still we'll have numbered episodes after this. But in terms of the playlist format, this is our last one for the year. As next week's episode, we'll be doing the Pod Awards, and then after that, our Album of the Year reveal that I'm very, very excited about. We have a pretty good top 10. I'm very excited to talk about our top 10 this year. I think, let's see, last year, well, actually, no, here's, I think I've revealed this on the 90s Industrial episode. God, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to give spoilers. I don't want to give spoilers for the Album of the Year pod, because what I say would spoil some of it.
Let's just say Matty Core stocks are not exactly...
They are so goddamn low, everybody. They're goddamn low.
You know what? If I'm Jim Cramer, buy low, baby. Buy low. Buy the dip. Buy the dip.
Again, by the dip. Again, Matty Core is still strong in my mind, and I do think I made a lot of inroads this year on Matty Core. I do think there's some serious inroads were made this year with the Pendant
We also
record.
found a lot of places to link and build on. You know, like
exactly.
Matty enjoyed some new music this year.
Exactly. You know, look, we have again right now. I have an investment partnership with Jackie Core Incorporated. We've already partnered on some great records together.
Our friendship ended with Cal 50, who no longer likes a lot of the stuff that I know. We love Cal 50.
We love Cal 50. Instead of Cal 50, I mean, we're again. Cam is again. You have a couple Padawans, Jackie. Of course, Max is your Padawan, as we've discussed, especially with this episode. 100%. Jesus Christ. The Matrix Reloaded Cam is your other Padawan.
100%.
Not whenever, but sometimes when Cal types, I picture like someone that was talking in a speakeasy back in the 20s.
He's not going to listen to this podcast anymore. He's going to be like, you guys are making fun of me for being old. Come on now.
We love Cal 50.
I love you, Cal.
To send it off, if DJ Deeon had helped Cal 50 come up with his username, it probably would have been Cum 50 is what he would have been called. That's it. Thanks for joining us this episode. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. We're going to be back next week, as Matty said. Going to be some great stuff. Yeah, see you soon.
She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we gon' leave and hit the mouth. I told her, girl, here you go. I tease her on the low. Now she freaking me on the floor. She freaking me on the floor. She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we gon' leave and hit the mouth. I told her, girl, here you go. I tease her on the low. Now she freaking me on the floor. She freaking me on the floor. She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we gon' leave and hit the mouth. I told her, girl, here you go. I tease her on the low. Now she freaking me on the floor. She freaking me on the floor. She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we gon' leave and hit the mouth. I told her, girl, here you go. I tease her on the low. Now she freaking me on the floor. She freaking me on the floor. She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we gon' leave and hit the mouth. I told her, girl, here you go. I tease her on the low. Now she freaking me on the floor. She freaking me on the floor. She busting it wide open and shaking it on the floor. She said if I get a tissue, we